Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Maych TV. Kylian Mbappe. Oh, Kylian Mbappe. PSG and France's World Cup winning Kylian Mbappe he's been flirting with Liverpool again, ladies and gentlemen. He's been talking about the mighty Reds. I have his exact words here, copied and pasted into notes, so I don't have to filter through the adverts on every single iteration of this on the internet. He said this. This season, Liverpool have been a machine in the Premier League, although he said it, presumably, with a French accent. They have made winning look easy, but the truth is, that is never easy. Dynamite insight. They have made performances, like that, like they have been having, just don't happen. Don't just happen. To be ruthless, as they have been, would come from lots of hard work and training and from having a very good manager, which effectively means that he's definitely signing for Liverpool. I think we can all agree on that, right? Look. It's a flight of fancy at best, but there's a couple of things, and the very base reason why I think this is really good. You've got Liverpool are massive. They're just massive. They're a massive football club. And even when Liverpool aren't at the peak, they're still a massive football club. And I think this is always a good barometer. This is how often they come up in conversation when you're watching other games of football. Commentators refer to Liverpool in like Premier League games that aren't Liverpool games. Okay, it's tangential, but when you're watching random other games of football, it's amazing how many times it comes up. And I think that's a good barometer. But now we're in a world where the best players in the world are starting to talk about Liverpool. All of a sudden, Kylian Mbappe's probably sat at home in lockdown, looking around, and it wouldn't shock me if bits and pieces that Liverpool have done really well, where he's revisiting anniversaries. People have been talking about Kiev, and people have been talking about the Barcelona game recently. It wouldn't shock me at all, in any way, shape or form, if Mbappe, in lockdown, on his own at home, and the Barcelona games come up, or whether he's watched the full game, or whether he's watched the highlights, or he's watched some of the bits and pieces that have permeated social media. I reckon he will have seen bits like that, and it'll just spark something in his head, thinking, that's really good, Dan. As much as PSG are a fine footballing institution themselves, and they've got tons of money at their disposal and all that kind of stuff, and he's obviously got some really good players around him, and they win domestic trophies all the time, there will be a thing from his perspective when he goes, I'm one of the best players in the world, and there'll be a little jealousy, I think, when he looks at the Liverpool players and what they've achieved for certain. We don't know that, but it will likely be the case. But I want to talk about the possibility of Mbappe to Liverpool, and I've definitely discussed this in the past, but, because hashtag Mbappe 2020 has been a bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing now for a year or two. And look, Jurgen Klopp basically referenced early on in the season that it's effectively impossible to sign Mbappe because he made that move too soon. And PSG pay him too much money. It's ridiculous. He's at 21 years old. He's in the upper echelon bracket of highest paid footballers, and I don't think he's done enough to deserve that just yet. I'm not saying that he's not brilliant and he's not going to be the best player in the world. He's the heir apparent to the Ronaldo Messi throne whenever they finally walk off into the sunset and what have you. But when you make that move, you automatically pretty much scratch out a number of really good football clubs, because look, let's be honest, Liverpool are a bigger club than PSG. Probably. Look, we've got more European Cups. We've got loads of things going for us. But Liverpool can't compete financially with Paris Saint-Germain. And that's true of a lot of really, really big football clubs as well. I don't think you can even you probably couldn't even go to Bayern Munich at this point. You're limited to Real Madrid, and probably Barcelona are the only clubs you can go to now because you've put yourself into that bracket. So I was thinking about this and how it would be, could it be possible for Liverpool to ever bring Mbappe? And I think the answer is actually yes. Now, do I think it will happen? But maybe if I'm unsure now and I'm on the fence, and if you are, maybe I'll try and convince us by the end, because I think it's quite a fun game to play. And do I think Mbappe 2020 is possible? 0%. 0% chance that Liverpool could buy Kylian Mbappe in 2020. And it was almost impossible anyway. And again, Klopp said it himself. But we've had a global pandemic. We've had no football for months now, and financially, I don't think anyone can afford to shop at that level anymore. Certainly not in the short term, and not without another season and a full season of European football revenues and all that kind of coming in again. I don't think it could happen. But I had an interesting conversation on the Red Men podcast this week, and my dad asked this question, in fact, and he was talking about when do you rebuild? do you rebuild from a position of power? How do you, and this is how you build a dynasty or a dynasty, and this is what I did a video about not too long ago, is do you need to strike while the iron's hot? You don't want to wait till your team's on the way down before you then try and build up again. The aim is to keep yourself at as close a level as you possibly can. And what Liverpool are trying to do, what Liverpool have been building towards, is creating this perpetual winning machine. Look at what Manchester United did in the 90s. So Man United bought in, they had some established really good players. They brought in like Eric Cantona, who becomes the catalyst. But also around that, they've got a crop of young players coming up as well. The catalyst in Cantona takes the existing players and makes them a little bit better. They get over the line, they win the first Premier League title, and then all of a sudden you've got a team of winners and a team of professionals in the peak of their career who are winning stuff. And then you've got this young crop coming up who are learning from those people, so that when those old guys move on, the young guys have become the senior players in the squad, and then they get to teach the next generation, and that's how you do it. What Barcelona have done in addition to this, which has allowed them to be able to maintain at the top, is obviously being a country where the television rights are horrendously skewed in the favour of Barcelona and Real Madrid. We can't do that, but what they have got is La Masia. So what you do is you breed the best possible youth talent, and you push as much of it, the best of it, up into your first team squad. Not necessarily your first 11, but your first team squad. And if you happen upon a genuinely world-class talent in there, amazing, absolutely amazing. That can be the difference between being absolutely, you know, peak of your powers and maybe having to spend a little bit more. But what they did there is, you look at Sergi Roberto as an example of this, and obviously they had the Iniestas and the Xavis, etc., and obviously Lionel Messi. But what you do is you bring up enough talent to keep your team ticking over, and then you go out and you buy the best of the best. So you don't need to go and buy 3 or 4 players every summer, because you've got a young lad there who's either ready to come up from the ranks underneath, or he's still getting better by playing more and more football each season. And this is where I feel Liverpool can make massive savings to start to build a war chest to bring in top level talent in the future. Because, good example of this summer looming, we don't quite know how this is going to work out, but use the base example that I'm going with here. Adam Lallana, we paid, what, 20-25 million pounds for. If you wanted to replace Adam Lallana in Liverpool's squad, you'd probably have to go and spend 30 million pounds. There or thereabouts to go and do it. A guy who can play in a couple of midfield positions, good on the ball, you know, it's just a fact. You need squad players at Liverpool's level all of a sudden cost 20 to 30 million pounds. And let's just call Adam Lallana that for the sake of argument. Well, if Curtis Jones can come in and play Adam Lallana's games next season, well then you've saved 25 million pounds, because you've replaced a member of your squad without having to spend the money to do it. If you didn't have Curtis Jones and you needed a player there, you'd have to go out and spend that money. Now, you could make that, it could be Grujic, it could be Harry Wilson. I'm just using Curtis Jones as an example of this. So if you can start to do that around a few positions, then that's how you start to save money. All of a sudden, what we've done in previous years, you might lose 2 or 3 players through age, or they might want to move on and get a new challenger. They're not playing enough games. Like Jurgen Shaqiri is going to be a good example of this. Adam Lallana, Dejan Lovren, etc. If you have to replace them in the squad, that could cost you 70, 80 million pounds just to get, you know, Lovren's a 20 million pound player. Lallana's a 20 million pound player. Shaqiri's a 15 to 20 million pound player. Well, there's 60 million quid just to replace them. And all of a sudden, if you're not spending that, you've technically got that money. And so what you end up in a situation is, and I think the key kicker, because I don't think that's enough, because the problem we've kind of got is that Liverpool's front 3 are all still in the prime of their career. We've still got good years left in them yet, and they're on top wages as well. And the wages is going to be the major sticking point, because Mbappe probably earns, I think he actually earns more than our top earner at Liverpool at the moment. But your top earners earn more and more. The more you renew contracts, the more money they earn on. And all of a sudden, Liverpool's bracket starts to get a little bit higher to what they can afford. What I'm kind of driving at here is, right here and now, I don't think you bring in a 21-year-old lad who's going to cost you a massive wedge of money. And without the pandemic, maybe Liverpool could engineer a situation where they could afford 150 million, and he would probably cost 200. So maybe they couldn't really do that. But I think you can build the war chest to create the amount of money that you're going to pay. Because look, we bought Van Dijk for £75 million. We bought Alisson for 70 million pounds. It can be done. But you also need the wage budget available to you, and you can't. I don't think you can bring a 21-year-old lad in who's earning more money than the existing three, because then you're then having to pay all those other guys more money to catch up to him. So I think in a year's time, and it could be Mbappe, and let's say it's Mbappe for the sake of argument, but it might be the next great star to come along as well. Mohamed Salah, you're looking at him and going, okay, we've had 3 or 4 good seasons out of him, exceptional seasons out of him. He's 29 years old now. We've probably got the best years we're going to get. We've had more good years out of him than we're going to get out of him from now. What do you do? Okay, well, you cash in while he's still got some value. And in doing that, what you do is maybe you still get 100+ million for Mohamed Salah because Real Madrid want him, or Barca want him, or Bayern want him, or Juventus want him, or whatever. And in doing that, you actually create yourself the amount of money that you need to spend, but also you free up a wage bracket. And then this lad's also a couple of years further on in his development. And, you know, Firmino and Mané are a year older, and they're thinking, okay, well, we understand our role in the squad. We're now not quite super top tier. We can see that this guy's coming in. So that's a situation, I think, where theoretically, hypothetically, in a mad flight of fancy, where Kylian Mbappe could end up at Liverpool. Is it him? Will it be him? I don't know. Because, look, let's be honest, if Barcelona come in and buy him, or Real Madrid come in and buy him, I think that shuts the door on that possibility, because all of a sudden he's on $500,000 a month. And he's still 22, 23 years old. He's going to be, if he's getting sold for 200 million at that age, when he's 24, 25, when he's in the absolute peak and prime of his years, what are we talking then? We don't know. The things that could impact this, of course, is do transfer fees start to come down in the post-pandemic footballing world? That's a possibility. Similarly with wages, we might see a reduction in that. I think, honestly, we might need that to happen for Mbappe to ever be a possibility. But what's encouraging moving forward is, look, he chose not to move to Liverpool effectively when he left Monaco. I think the next time a Kylian Mbappe comes through and he's at a Monaco, or he's at a Dortmund, or he's at pick your clubs who are, you know, a Napoli or whatever, who are good, solid football clubs in reasonable leagues, I think Liverpool's a destination club all of a sudden, and we don't miss out on those opportunities because Liverpool have put themselves right back at the top table of football. So whether it's Mbappe 2021, or whether it's, you know, pick one, you'll know them, name the next great wonderkids you think are on the rise. I think Liverpool all of a sudden are in the market for the ... next best player in world football, hopefully. I think. Wouldn't that be lovely? Fingers crossed. Thumbs up. Listen, if you agree with me or whatever, let me enjoy the debate. Get involved in the debate in the comment section underneath. Drop a like on this. If you want more from me, twitch.tv/Maych Gaming. I'm doing a career mode series over on there. Having a really good laugh with it. And if you want to support everything I'm doing on there and on here, patreon.com/Maych. And if you want a bit more fun, hilarity and weirdness, there's the Maych and Pajak podcast as well. Me and my good mate Chris, just chatting through life, the universe and everything in podcast form every single Friday on youtube.com/Maych Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Kylian Mbappe 2021, anyone? Yeah?